I appreciate everyone joining us today. We are just going to go ahead and dive into things, but just wanted to thank you all for joining us for our third event in our webinar series of Building Your Brand's Creator Community the Smart Way. Today, we'll be focusing on how to strengthen your creator community. My name is Evan Cooper, and I am a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Tracker. My hope is that you leave today's workshop feeling confident in building a great creator experience so your brand can truly stand out in the creator community. And for folks who don't know, although I would hope you do since you're here at our event, Tracker is the #1 influencer marketing platform for data-driven marketers. Our platform provides everything from influencer discovery to campaign management, program reporting, and market benchmarking. We're proud and lucky to work with some of the best brands in the world, including L'Oreal, Unilever, Coty, Samsung, Four Seasons, and Pandora. If you'd like to learn more about Tracker at any point, you can simply book a free demo by using the button on the top right of your screen. So now that we've gotten those formalities out of the way, I'm really thrilled to be joined today by Nicole Heriman, Community Manager at Sony Electronics, and Jeff Giordano, Senior Director of Brand Marketing and Social Strategy at Sally Beauty, both of which I've had the distinct privilege of working with these last few years. Nicole and Jeff, could you guys please share a little bit more about yourselves for everyone?
Absolutely. Happy to jump in. Thanks, Evan. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Heriman. I've been with Sony Electronics for about 8 years. I am the Community Marketing Manager, managing all of our creator relationships across TV, audio, and gaming for the team. Nice to see you all here.
Awesome. And I'll jump in. Jeff Giordano here, Senior Director of Brand Marketing for Sally Beauty. So I oversee all paid media, influencer marketing, social media, PR, and events to help drive new customer acquisition and reintroduce the Sally Beauty brand to North America. I've been with the company for about 4 years now. And prior to that, was with Whole Foods Market, Wyndham, Darden, really focusing all on social and influencer marketing. So the last 15 years, this has been my passion.
Amazing. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm super excited to dive into things here. Now, throughout this webinar series, we've covered on the various stages of the creator lifecycle journey, from how to acquire or connect new creative partners, how to retain, and how to re-engage your biggest advocates. Just like the journey that your customers tend to go through with your brand, the creator lifecycle journey doesn't end once you've engaged your creative partners. It requires constant adjustments and care to really ensure that you are building a community around the right folks for your program. Now, before we dig into some of the data from our new State of Creator Relationships report, I'd like to ask you both, what does community mean to Sally Beauty and Sony Electronics, and why is it important to build a strong community in the current state of today's creator economy? Nicole, we can probably start with you on this one.
All right, beautiful. Yeah, so as far as our creator community, it's just so important for us to connect with our customers and our advocates. We know that creators are, the people who are helping to spread the awareness of our product and really help to get our customers knowledge on our product. So it's been really important to us to focus on community marketing and especially the creators in building that community around them.
Awesome. So just to completely echo and support what Nicole just shared. Community for Sally Beauty is our customer. It's the creators. It's the advocates. It's not just what influencer marketing historically has been, but it's building a voice and a narrative that carries beyond what owned or paid channels can carry for Sally Beauty. And I think we all live in a world now where we question the efficacy or the reality or the authenticity of a message from a brand, and putting it in the hands of a community is #1 priority, because that's that third party validation, whether that's an earned or paid relationship, it has a longer term meaning to Sally Beauty. And so that's where our community focus is.
Awesome. Those are both great answers and super insightful. I appreciate you guys sharing. So just jumping into this next slide here, I found this to be a really interesting statistic. So our recently released State of Creator Relationships report found that a majority of partnerships with new creators are in fact short-term. So 86% of partnerships were reported to be under 6 months, and 36% of marketers said their typical contract length with new creators was just a single post. So Jeff and Nicole, as a follow-up to these data points, how do you go about maturing a creator relationship from a standard collaboration like a single sponsored post to more sophisticated partnership like ambassadorships, affiliates, creative out-of-the-box campaigns, et cetera, and things of that nature? Jeff, maybe we can start with you this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really interesting stat, because when you think about influencer marketing. I think we're getting to a place where we're so performance marketing oriented, where it almost becomes transactional. And when you think of this element, that 36% or just a single post, it's not even just the relationship with the creator. You now have to think about the relationship between the brand and the audience that the influencer is hitting on. So that's a double whammy of two transactional perspectives if you do a single post relationship. So at Sally, what we try to focus on is longer term partnerships. I don't even want to say contracts. I want to say partnerships where we're investing as an extension of our own social influencer team. But then, yes, there will be times where we say we need to plus up in this area, but it shouldn't be a rotation of creators. It's find that core. I always call it the bench. Who's our bench? And my team is, if they're on, they're probably laughing because I'm like, let's talk about our bench of people. But they're our team. We treat them as such. And so, but what that also means is you're creating a long-term relationship via the creator with their audience. So always put the audience, I always like to put the audience first, back into the creator, back into the brand. We're all consumers of social here. Let's just be honest. And we can sniff out, however you want to say it, a paid placement. We saw it and you keep pushing. But when you constantly see that creator talking as part of their own authenticity, that's where we see the long-term success. So influencer, in my opinion, it's about, I don't want Sally and our creators to be part of that 36% stat. It should be more focus on long-term relationship building that's performance oriented, not just a transactional commitment.
Absolutely. And I love the idea of the bench. I think that is, exactly what we do over here as well, really focusing on our ambassadors and the core community that we are trying to build, creating opportunities for them beyond even just the paid post, right? I think that's been very, very mission critical. And I think also for us, we do know that we have to continue to build and grow, in different areas as well. So we think about it in like a funnel approach in a way. So seeding is like a very critical component of that to really find who those advocates are for us that we can then continue to build and nurture that relationship. And I think the other piece for us too is just like the personal connect. So we can have that banter around the relationship and find things that benefit them and benefit us as a brand as well. It's an important partnership to build upon and curate, not just that one post. We want to go beyond that.
Something, Nicole, you just said, I think is really important for marketers and influencer to think through is where does influencer sit in your funnel? Mm-hmm. Because I've been in organizations before where influencer is brand marketing at the top or awareness. I've seen it where I've been on the side where we have to do performance marketing and everything is an affiliate last click to a D2C experience. Mm-hmm. So I think that's real. You as you hone your program, where does influencer sit in your mix? Transparently, I see success where influencer almost dictates where it sits based off the campaign versus a marketer saying it must be all performance, everything is ready to go, affiliate links, last click, get that revenue, or it's purely just a CPM build. You're going to have a mix of creators who have a diverse communities within their own self that have ways in and play into those creator strengths. Don't try and force the creator into what your objective is. Play into what they can bring to the table is kind of what I've learned over the last several years as we dive into this area.
Yeah, that's a great point as far as providing creators with the freedom to express themselves in an authentic way that will ultimately resonate with the audiences that they're reaching. So I think those are both super valuable points. Nicole, you mentioned the building this core community beyond just simply like a paid post and different touch points to continue to build that. You just talked to me a little bit about specific to the Sony Audio Ambassador Program. How did you go about building that community? And, what have you done to continue the growth of this community over the last couple of years, would you say?
Yeah. As mentioned, community is core for everything at Sony. So when I joined 8 years ago, we actually started our Alpha Imaging Collective, which was our first true community for the imaging side of the business. Since then, we've built out that IBO community, which is our robotic puppy, which has an amazing fandom around it, the Audio Ambassador Program. And most recently, we've actually expanded into in-zone ambassadorships as well for our gaming line. But on the audio ambassador side, we've done paid campaigns and collaborations in the past. So when I came into this side of the business, it was about looking at who's really leaned into the partnership with us to date, who's, constantly, reaching out to continue to collaborate, is using the product just naturally and organically within their content, right? And from there, we kind of found this core group of people who we felt were that true advocate for us. From there, it was so important to us to get on the phone. I mean, I got on a phone call with every single one of the people we were considering for this program to just talk about like the collaborations to date, like what they have going on as a creator and in our audio side of the business as an artist too. Like what is big moments on their radar? What do they have going on? And, if I felt that there was that true synergy and the interest for the partnership, that's when we thought these are our core ambassadors, right? And so we built this program. It's been going for about 2 years. It's not something we're trying to grow in like mass, growth, like numbers of people in the program. It's about really just honing into this group, allowing them to grow with us and providing new and unique opportunities to them to help them grow as a creator and an artist themselves. So it's been a really fun adventure, and, the relationships and partnerships have been just phenomenal on that side.
Amazing. I appreciate you sharing that. And I love the perspective of I've seen in working with you both how you tend to treat creators as like family members, extended members of the organization. And it's awesome to see that you guys are including them in collaborations, getting their feedback, incorporating that into future activations. I think it's all about that iterative approach, and it's awesome to see it in practice. Jeff, you mentioned the value of, long-term partnerships, obviously finding the bench. In working with you and looking at, your data, it seems that a vast majority of the creators that have been top performers for the brand over the last couple of years, you've managed to retain on a regular basis. So can you just speak to how you continue to keep these top creators engaged? They're continually mentioning the brand in a, meaningful and authentic way.
Absolutely. And I think Nicole really just hit on exactly what we do on the Sally side too. The best way I can say this to anyone is you cannot treat your influencers or your creators as a transactional contractor. They are a part of your team. So do they have a birthday coming up? Send them flowers. Did they just have a reward? Reward them. Did they have a big moment? Have your social team engage with them outside of the partnership and keep them going. So a big part of that when it comes to community, I have this analogy I use with my own internal team is you have to imagine social in the landscape is like a cocktail party where every table, like your brand is a tabletop, right? And then you have your influencers or your creators coming towards you and you talk only about yourself at them, who no one's going to stick around. You're going to leave, right? So you have to get out there and be a brand that also cares about what their influencers beyond the partnership are engaging with, what your audience or your advocates are engaging with or talking about, and really show true connection. It's a two-way dialogue. So beyond just the contract of the relationship, like you're with us 6 months, you do 2 posts a month at this rate, call today, go above and beyond. Show them that you care about them as a person. And it's almost that I scratch your back, you scratch my back. We just had a great activation in New York City for Pride where, yes, we had some partners that have been with us for 4 months. And then they were contracted in this campaign for a certain amount of deliverables. We got 5x the deliverables output just because we care about you beyond what you give back to me from a financial and or measurement standpoint. And I'm not going to lie, as a business leader, I have to care about the results. But I also treat all of our creators, and my team does as well, as part of the team, not just someone who does work for us. So that's my biggest point on that, like how to retain them, treat them like people, treat them like you want to be treated. You're not just someone for output.
Totally. And I'll just jump in on that. I think I always am echoing to our creators, like the door is open for opportunities, like bring things to the table. Like every time I get off a call with them, I'm like, don't ever like feel like you can't bring this to us. Like we have, the means to help support you. So if something comes up, be it a quick turn, like we'll figure out something. We'll make it work for you. Like we want you to feel like you can come to us as a partner beyond those contracted deliverables. You have an album coming up. You want to do an album release party. Let's figure it out together. We've got this together.
And I do want to give a shout out. I see Amanda Arias, who's my influencer relationship manager on the team in the chat. She is the queen of doing this. So Amanda, keep rocking.
Yes, Amanda is definitely deserving of a shout out. She's done a lot of great work this last year. And I really do love what you guys had to share about treating creators as human beings, not just transactions. And, I feel like especially in the beauty industry, this notion of like keeping an influencer engaged with the program is like, okay, let's just send them more product and see if they post about it. But Jeff, to your point, it really is about just like thinking through like, okay, do they have an upcoming birthday? Did they just have some big moment in their life that's worth celebration? And, really just synergizing your activities with your social team or whoever else to ensure that like Sally Beauty or whatever brand is being represented as like one individual whole versus, just different parts of the set. Yeah. So really appreciate you guys sharing that.
Absolutely. Something just to add to that, when it comes to your social teams interacting beyond just the windows of a campaign or a post with those partnerships and relationships, there's the statistic we have from our social software platform. 73% of communities are built just from a comment. Mm-hmm. And so having that brand time just to go in on someone else's audience and just showcase, hey, love what you're engaging with or what you're doing, and just being a part of the conversation. Social's two-way. Mm-hmm. So it's not a financial investment. It's just a time investment, and it has a long-term payoff. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, that is actually a great segue for our next slide here. So in this report that we recently published, we also found that cultivating relationships with new creative partners obviously still requires a significant amount of manual work. And when we asked what types of challenges marketers typically encounter, hours of internal employee time was ranked as the most time, resource, and budget intensive. So initially providing your partners with a great experience can obviously ensure they stay engaged with their brand for a longer period of time, from the moment you reach out to them all the way through the payment, if it is a paid partnerships. But, what are some of the ways that you guys both create great experiences for your partners, in working with the program?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's important to realize that this is a business, right? This is the way that they're, putting food on the table at the end of the day for their family. They're paying their bills. So being really on top of, payment and all of that is really important. But just for us, like building upon those current relationships, like and growing that, we want to focus in on the people that we have as part of that core first. And so just focusing our time on them is really important. I think one other thing that's really important for us is just in the content side of it, like we want to be upfront with them about what our expectations are too. But at the end of the day, like we trust them as a creator and the content they produce. So we're not going to be going back and forth and spending all their time and our team's time on revisions of content. Like we get the things up front that we want, but we trust them as creators. So I think that's a big part of it.
Agreed. I think on our front, Amanda, her team, myself, we spend a lot of time on the back end before we even start with the creators on, is the brief clear? Is it the expectations up front? Are our goals clear? And our job as influencer, we're not talent managers per se, but our job is to be a good other end of the spectrum to them. Like it has to be healthy. They have to be clear. But to what Nicole just said, we also don't want to provide endless feedback. So a practice we have is when the influencer sends in their first round, we only ever send potentially up to one round feedback. End of story. It's all consolidated. It's at one time. If it's, let's say, an influencer piece of content's coming in for their channels, own channels, paid channels, it's one round feedback. We align, we send it back. Because it shouldn't be up to the influencer to manage all these streams. That's for your internal team and or self to help consolidate. So they're the most efficient. Their job is to entertain or grow their community. We are just lucky enough to have a spot in their space. So don't treat them like 5 rounds of V5 creative feedback that you're going to have with your internal creative team where you're making tweaks left and right. Get it all in one round, send it back, what they give back. And to Nicole's point, they know their audience best. Mm-hmm. Don't control it. I'll be honest, we've done it in the past where we were too prescriptive and you see the performance tank. Mm-hmm. They know their audience. They built their audience. So find a way to authentically find your message, their talents, build it together. When it comes to our feedback in Streamlight, typically it's only around you can't legally make that claim or you can't say that word because we'll get sued. But we're not going to change the creative concept.
There's a reason you select the creators from the get-go. You trust them.
You trust them. Let them do their thing.
Mm-hmm. And that was what I was going to say, is the importance of not only trusting the creators that you partner with, but also trusting your teams to ensure that they are the quality and aligned with the brand image and the brand values as well. And, through that alignment, I think is where you see the most authentic and organic content come through. I did have a quick follow-up question for you guys on this subject, though. Do you perhaps have different strategies for engagement depending on the tier or type of creator that they are?
We've been testing, and when you say engagement, bringing them into our program and who we work with, right? So for us, we've tested everything from a celebrity to a mega TikToker to a mid-tier, micro, nano. What we find success in is, I would say, more that mid-tier range and the nano range. And it's building, because when you look at and I'm going to go into my data moment for a second, when you look at their engagement rates, you will typically see a higher engagement rate with a smaller audience because they have time to cultivate versus one to many, it's one to few. Mm-hmm. That being said, it doesn't mean there isn't a time and place for a larger partnership. So you have to look at your business priorities and figure out what's your always on, what are your plus ups, what are your marquee moments, and then really look at, and I see a comment in the chat, mid-tier is best for CPM. That's how we measure our program, by the way. You have to look at what is your available investment, your available priorities, and make that call. But what we see is that mid-tier to micro and is truly where we see the most efficiencies. Mm-hmm. But there is something to be said beyond the black and white data around quality and actual influence that someone may carry. So that's something you also have to have a gut check around.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo exactly what Jeff said. We work with the major label artists, right, down to the ones who are the indie artists growing. I think we find our core in that mid-tier community who wants to grow with us. That's the true partnership in the community, that we can build, and the relationship we can curate together. I think when you're on the higher end of the scale, it is more of a pass-through, partnership, right? There is, deliverables, there's execution of the contract. We're always continuing to try to grow that, right? But it is just a different approach, and the KPIs are different at the end of the day.
Yep. One thing that we've done in the past and we're looking at evolving right now is almost a growth trajectory and or gamification and incentive of influencers. So let's say someone is starting off fresh as a UGC creator. Mm-hmm. They're coming in, they have 500 followers, but they make great content. Let's invest in them. Let's go. Let's see what's happening. As you start growing, let's grow with you, as opposed to trying to come in at the top and negotiate your way down. Mm-hmm. Start from the bottom, invest early, find those high growth creators and stick with them. Don't give up on them, because the moment as they start growing, you grow with them. And we have a couple that Amanda has found over the last 2 years. Been with us nonstop. They come to all of our events. They come to New York when we do activations, etc. And they've been just skyrocketing. But because you showed them value in the beginning, it's not that's the next. And I'm not going to call any macro influencer on this call, but just because they have 50 million followers, now I need to get in on this. You can test that all you want, but start from the ground up, build, stick with them, invest in them as they grow. And there's ways you can gamify it. We've done rewards. We've done hey, the best engagement rate this month out of this campaign gets another cash sign-on bonus. There's ways to really excite people beyond just, here, I signed my contract, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, jumping in on that, UGC has become a big part of our any campaign that we're doing. So it is one of the tiers that we're activating for our paid campaigns, right? So that is right in line with that. But also, I think one of the challenges of kind of starting from the ground up is scale, right? You have to be able to connect at the same level with those people and allow them the opportunity to connect with you as a brand and grow with you together. So we've done some really unique things on our side where, it's myself and 3 people on my team with, some amazing agencies as well. But we're activating our field team. We've trained them on how to work with creators themselves. Like they can go out and have lunch with somebody in their community. They can, as products are coming out, like they can go and show them the product and, in real life and talk them through it. They are sending them the texts on their birthdays because they're able to, right? So it's about scaling that, those relationships, because you don't want to just like put them on the bottom burner. You want them to feel that same level of partnership. And also as a brand, you can bring so much to them in helping them to grow as well. So spotlighting them, using their content, licensing their content for, different uses so that they're seeing that paid return as well. So there's really unique ways to activate that.
So just to add on to that, because that actually is a big tier of our area. So Nicole mentioned her field team and getting them involved. We are a retailer with 2,500 plus stores in North America. So we mobilized our employees as influencers and advocates of the brand. So we stood up an associate influencer program that anyone is eligible to do so. And we send out weekly challenges, getting them engaged in what we're doing with marketing to help carry forward. And what we've seen is just a high return on not even influencer and or content performance, employee retention. And it's really showing that we're finding a new avenue for your people that carry your brand every day and are also financially responsible for the success into this journey of carrying the brand forward. And they almost have like this, like, I'm a representative. I'm beyond just my apron or my uniform in this capacity. I'm now a voice for the brand. And so we've even then brought them in as part of our creative campaigns. We fly them into photo shoots. So just because someone isn't quote unquote a TikTok star or an Instagram star for an influencer, you have an entire army of people that work for you that know the brand better than probably all of us, that can also speak, because we all have social. So it's just also harnessing the community that you have internally too, not just those externally that you're trying to acquire.
Amazing. I love all those answers. And the analogy that really resonates with me most is like thinking of your community as a blossoming garden, and you're planting as many seeds as possible at the ground level, really trying to see them flourish and get as much sunlight as possible and grow with you guys. So it's really, really cool to see, just understand that's my perspective, but it's cool to see it actually play out in practice with both your programs here. So really appreciate you both sharing those insights. Cool. So as we do begin to wrap up this very engaging and wonderful discussion, I'm just interested in learning from you both a little bit more. What are the types of partnerships or collaborations that you and your team are putting effort into for perhaps like the remainder of this year, or even preparing for some interesting creative partnerships in 2025?
Of course. So for us, what we're looking at is more scale is really what we're trying to focus on. And so we're looking more into the mid-tier, the nano creators, and getting to a place where we are doing 6, 12, 24-month partnerships, because what we want to get to a place is not campaign driven, it's community driven. Mm-hmm. We will have moments where, yes, we need to launch said product or we need to talk about X season. But what we want to get to a place is an always on or evergreen moment where we are a part of their story. We're not asking them to be a part of our story. Mm-hmm. So that is really the new approach we're going to be taking with influencer. We've been doing that for some time now, but really just putting a stake in the ground, honing in on this tier, this level of success, this way of doing influencer. And to Nicole's point earlier, allowing the creator to do what they do best, get out of their way. Because I'm a consumer of TikTok probably way too much when work ends, and I can sniff out paid partnerships like nobody's business, and it gets real boring. And that's what we don't want, that just product placement or that, hey, sponsored by this to talk this singular message. No, like if you love this product, by all means, you're under contract or in partnership, go have fun, do your thing. Like just hit these milestones. And when we have plus up moments for certain things, we'll talk to you. We'll let you go. We'll bring you to these events. We'll engage you in this way. So it's more relationship long-term versus campaign driven is what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, and I think on our side, for the audio community specifically, we actually just did this major activation this summer called Sony Summer House, which was a 3-day event in Beverly Hills. And for us, it was about activating our audio ambassadors and bringing in like their communities as well. So it's expanding beyond that bench to the community that's connected to our core, right? So, we had our ambassadors, host rap showcases, host Sound Club Live events that we're now rolling out across the US. There's all these different ways that we're bringing in that extended community to feel part of this, like this thing that we've created with a select group. And for us, it's all about that expansion on that front.
Awesome. I appreciate you both sharing that. I do have a few questions, and we can definitely open this up to the rest of the audience if there are any additional questions coming to mind. But you both mentioned the importance of incorporating a nano and mid-tier strategy in your influencer programs. Obviously, when you work with higher tier influencers, they have a stronger reach, which theoretically means that their content should perform better. But how do you go about like measuring the success of your creator community? Like, are there any metrics or KPIs for certain tiers of influencers that aren't relevant to others, or is it just sort of like a blanket policy and now you do analyze the success of your programs?
So for us, I think the number one way we evaluate a potential new partner, I wouldn't say this is for every partner, it's the way we look at our investment towards success back to the business. And I think I need to caveat first, we sit influencer totally in the brand marketing space. We don't treat influencer down into like the D2C affiliate revenue driving. We think of influencer as brand building. So I look at how can influencer be complementary to my awareness media investments when I'm doing more like buys on TikTok, out of home, display. So we look at CPM as a comparable metric in terms of the way we buy into all of our media. So right now, we do look at, can we buy into or find partnerships that meet a certain CPM criteria? Right now, our benchmark is $25 CPM. That being said, we then also look at engagement rate of that said influencer. So just because someone has so many followers, if their engagement is 0, it's all for naught. And I'd rather focus in on a lower tier person who has a higher value engaged audience that also matches with said audience in our area. And that's a big part of what we use Tracker for, is we do look at each creator. Do they match does their audience match our target demos? That is where we start the relationship. Okay, great. And then of course, everyone has their own unique area, but we do have metrics that align to paid media, owned media, that keep it consensus, because then what we do is we take all this and we put it into an MMM or marketing media mix analysis. And we then are able to actually look at how does this efficacy work towards our top line sales. And right now, influencer is tracking at a 4 to 1 ROI, but it's because we do treat it from a mathematical objective standpoint in the beginning. And then obviously there are nuances. There are your ROAS or ROI will decrease as you go up to higher tier influencers, but you also have to take in the qualitative side of it. So I know I'm talking a lot of numbers right now. It's like, this is the art side of influencer marketing, is having that gut instinct of what is actual influence in the world versus the science side of the math that the business is going to care about when your leadership is going, well, what was your return? Yeah. So that's the challenge to any influencer marketing is being a marketer, is to say, how do I marry the two to have an art and science approach?
Very similar over here as well. I think that's the approach. We do have influencer that sits at various parts of the funnel though. So we do have differentiated KPIs based on the strategy of the campaign or what we're activating for it. So could be view goals, could be, click goals. Definitely engagement rate is like that, to me, that benchmark metric to really make sure that they have a true community themselves as a creator and an influencer. So that one is mission critical for us. But yeah, it really just depends on the campaign and the goals of said campaign.
Gotcha. Cool. I appreciate you sharing. And Jeff, I appreciate the plug for Tracker's vetting solution as the foundation of, what ultimately, factors into which influencers you do decide to.
I'll be honest, you have to have that because, there are influencers I would love to work with. And then I realized, oh, 80% of your audience is not in the US. I can't ship to you. So you have like that level of just making sure the audience matches your target is also just as critical in selection of success.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys sharing. I'm just going to jump around here because I am seeing some additional questions coming through the chat. Yeah, this one coming through. I've been recently seeing brands bring their top customers on brand trips instead of creators. Do you think this is the future of brand trips and community events, or perhaps just flash in the pan? You guys give your perspective.
Yeah, I think on the event side, just on our side, on the events, we don't want it to ever feel like it's like this group is all that can get access to this. We want our community to feel like there is opportunity. And so, like I mentioned on the audio side of the business, like this year is about creating those opportunities for customers and people to be able to go in and access these same type of perks and benefits. So a lot of the events do have that consumer angle to it, right? Where we're bringing in people and we're having them be part of the experience themselves, which we're really excited about.
I would say there's a place for both. And I wouldn't say brand trips are fading out. I think it depends on what is your strategy and your goal. What are you trying to achieve? A brand trip, like we all know Turks and Caicos and everything that happened. Shout out to them. That's a reach play. You are going for conversation and scale. But if your job is to actually build customer and community, you're missing the authenticity and the relatability of what that customer is experiencing. So for Sally, what we actually are focusing more on is in-person community-driven events that are then amplified via influencer and paid media. So we just did one in New York City for Pride. We're about to go to Miami for Hispanic Heritage Month. So it's just, what's your strategy? Are you trying to just get coverage and PR, which that's what a brand trip does? Or are you trying to build customer and acquisition? And that's where I would do more community focus and customer focused events. So it just, there's not a one is better than the other. It's just, what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, I think that's sound advice, is thinking through, what is your goal in making this partnership happen or bringing this activation to life, and then working your way backwards from there. So that totally makes sense. I think we do have time for maybe one more question here. So how do you manage in-house creative directors and or clients that want to control creative from creators? How do you get those stakeholders to let go of having approval on everything?
Great question. Nicole, I don't mean to just jump in right away, but this is something, Sally, we've dealt with, I would say, for many, many years. We have a great relationship with our creative directors and creative team. This is what you need to put a stake in the ground on. Is influencer marketing a content source or a channel for you? And when you try to blur the two lines, that's where things get a little awry. So I know Nicole mentioned earlier a focus on UGC content. We actually, on our side too, we created two separate streams. We now have what's called the Creator Collective. That is about content creation and branding that we own. Influencer marketing is way over here. It's about their audience, let them do their thing. And my team knows this about me. I use the terms creator and influencer very differently, because influencer in partnerships is about them. Creator or content is about what are we making for Sally Beauty. So I think it's about managing expectations. I do think the creative team should have a voice when it comes to the brand guidelines. Obviously, if you're making and paying for content that is to be used on own channels, and we do that for ourselves, but that was a big struggle here, where we tried to do everything in one, and then we actually created influencer or partnership burnout, where they didn't want to work with us anymore because we were asking too much. Change this. It didn't meet the creative director's expectations. This. At the end of the day, and then I'll be honest, some of those creators or influencers we had, their audiences started declining. So that is the risk you take when you give too much control over someone that is putting content out to their audience, is you're risking authenticity of their performance. So what we did, we broke into two. We have a creator collective, which is about creator or using creators as contractors effectively to make content on behalf of said brand. Influencers a channel. It's about them. Here's our message. Here's what we got to do. Go do your thing. So that is something we've seen the negative side of. So I would really caution anyone in this space to set those boundaries and really articulate the intent of what you're going after with your programs.
Yeah, I think oftentimes people are trying to accomplish too much with the same thing. And that's where that crossover happens, right? And so I think it's just, on our side, we've definitely experienced it, but it's been more for us about education with our team. Like, we can't do this because it will affect this, right? So we need to have a plan and strategy for both. Creative actually sits on the community marketing team as well, but they have their own strategy and plan. And if things fit into that plan, like from creators, that's wonderful. But it's almost like a secondary thing. Like we review content together. And if something fits within their parameters of what they're working on, great, we can apply it. It is not the end all be all goal though.
That's super insightful, and I appreciate you guys illuminating the distinctions. Obviously, it's a very fine line between the two sort of worlds, but hopefully everyone on the call can learn from your experiences and just apply them to their own programs. It's important. So with that, we are going to be wrapping things up here in a minute. Just wanted to thank you both so much for joining us today, and if everyone could give a big thank you to our wonderful panelists, Nicole and Jeff. So many good gems in today's conversation. I've really genuinely enjoyed chatting with you guys. If anyone else has any additional questions, you can absolutely find them on social. Otherwise, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today. So the next event in our webinar series will be happening on Thursday, August 22nd at 12 p.m. EST. We'll be wrapping up the series by diving into the topic of how to maximize ROI through efficient creator retention and acquisition with Tracker's new product features. We also have a few exciting in-person events coming up this fall. Our Impact events are heading to London on September 10th and LA on October 1st. I'll personally be at the LA event, so I hope to see some of the audience members there. And lastly, if you're interested in further diving into Tracker's capabilities, just want to share one more time that you can sign up for a free demo using the button on the top right of your screen. So with that, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Nicole and Jeff. Appreciate you guys.
Bye, guys.